Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 3-day mindful eating challenge, also known as the Stop Eating Shit Because You're Stress Reset. I'm so excited to be doing this because I know it's a big deal. It's been a big deal for me to some extent, although I've actually learned a lot from being in the last 2 lockdowns. It's certainly been a problem for friends and for clients as well, which is one of the reasons why I did this. So it's a huge minefield, the whole mindful eating and emotional eating. And I'm only going to kind of look at little tiny parts of it because it's so big. And a lot of the time when you delve into emotional eating, it really needs to get down deep, which you can't really do in 3 days. But what I'm hoping it will do is we'll give you some tips that you can take away and maybe a little bit more awareness of the reasons why you eat and some tips on how you can maybe change that around for you as well. So let's get cracking, and I'm just going to introduce myself. Some of you might not know me. So my name's Sarah Brenchley. I'm a degree qualified naturopath. I'm also a medical herbalist and I'm a nutritionist. And I'm currently halfway through a master's in human nutrition at Deakin University. I'm also a life coach and a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, NLP practitioner. Plus, I'm also a yoga teacher. So I'm a bit of a personal development nerd, and what I'm trying to do is bring all of those aspects of me together instead of working separately, bring them all together and create programs and spaces where I can utilize all of those and basically help women up-level their health, their mindset, their well-being, and just truly see how fantastic and beautiful that they really are. Because when we love ourselves, when we take care of ourselves, we eat properly, we exercise properly, we don't do the things that are actually going to affect our health because we care about ourselves. So I'm really passionate about working with women and getting them to see how beautiful they really are so they take care of themselves. I'm also human. I hate bliss balls. I'm not a huge lover of chia seeds. I love roast potatoes and I love red wine. I love chocolate. So I like to think that I'm real. So there's going to be no bliss ball snacks this week, I promise. I'm married. I've got 2 teenage kids. One of whom wants to be vegetarian but doesn't like vegetables, and the other one just doesn't like vegetables. So it's been a challenge, and they're both mid to late teenagers, and I've been on my own eating journey. So I've had weight that goes up and down, and I've learned a lot about being an emotional eater. I have always been an emotional eater. It is not something that you just suddenly crack. All you can do is be really aware and then change the behaviours to help you. So it gets easier because you start to listen to the voice, you start to see the patterns. You have a completely new relationship with food, and when you crack it, I tell you, it's amazing the difference. So I know that emotional eating and over snacking or eating the wrong type of snacks it's like huge in regards to putting weight on. It's massive, and if we can just sort that section out, then the rest of the stuff's easy. The emotional eating, I think, is actually the most challenging part. So what I want to do very briefly is just talk to you about the whole challenge and what the plan is. So we're going to look at mindful eating and emotional eating, and I've kind of split them up because they're such big subjects. So this morning we're just going to look at mindful eating, and I'm going to talk to you about a mindful eating activity and give you some tips. And then this afternoon I'm going to talk about emotional eating, and I've got a few little activities for emotional eating, and you could do one, you could do all of them. It's completely up to you. You might decide to do one now and then do the rest over the next week or so, or whatever. But you've always got those tips. And then I've also got a meditation which I'm going to email. So hopefully those of you that signed up, you'll have got an email this morning, and the meditation will be in that email. There's a button you just need to click on. If you have any problems with the emails or downloading anything, please tell me. Then Tuesday we're going to talk about healthy snacking. So I'm going to talk about the pros and the cons of healthy snacking, and I'm going to give you a snacker tracker to look at the types of snacks that you're having and how often you're having those snacks. And I'm also going to be emailing you some healthy snack recipes as well. Like I said, no bliss balls. And then on Wednesday we're going to talk about food environment and food reward. So looking at how we can make sure our environment supports our new behaviours. And so that fits in with the emotional eating and mindful eating. Second, everything kind of fits into one another. So we're also going to look at how you can reward yourself without food as well. And I'm going to give you an activity where you're going to have to reward yourself without food as well. So that's pretty much the 3-day challenge. I'm trying to make it as brief as possible. The activity is small and easy because I don't want you to feel overwhelmed and anxious in an already overwhelmed and anxious world. But if you've got anything else that you want me to talk about or any questions, then at 4 o'clock I'm going to pop on live. Please ask questions. If there's anything you specifically want me to cover, I can talk about that then, or I can talk about it another time as well. So please let me know if I'm not giving you what you want, or if there's anything kind of missing that you really want me to cover. Let me know and I'm really happy to talk about it. So cracking on, let's talk about mindful eating. So mindfulness is kind of the new trendy thing, and all it really means is about being really aware in the present moment. So it can increase our awareness of our hunger and our fullness. So sometimes we might just be eating for the sake of it. We might be eating because of habit. It's routine, morning tea, afternoon tea, and we're not even aware of whether we're even hungry. We're not even aware of whether we're full. Sometimes we just, for whatever reasons, and there's a couple of reasons, it might be because of the way we've been brought up to finish our plate, or it might be that we're eating so quickly that we can't even tell that we're full, and then we feel really stuffed and sick afterwards. And it's just because we weren't eating with that awareness and with slowness. So if we can develop some mindfulness about the reasons why we're eating and how we're eating, where we're eating, or eating at a desk, or we're eating in the car, then that can actually start to help us develop a healthy relationship with food. Awareness is a massive step. Once you're aware of something, you can't ignore it. You have to do something about it, and then it becomes a choice. When you're not aware, it's not even a choice. So the mindful eating, really, the purpose of this is really just to get us to be starting to be aware of our patterns. From an early age, we're actually taught to respond to food cues like boredom, or what the time of day is. You know, you go to school and all of a sudden it's morning tea and it's brain food time and it's afternoon tea time. And we're taught to do that, even though actually our bodies weren't necessarily geared up for morning tea and afternoon tea. And we learn about habits, we learn about rewards. You know, you do something really good, you get pudding, you take part in netball or soccer or rugby, and all of a sudden, you know, Friday day you've got chocolate and lollies and orange and blue flavoured drinks. So we're taught to rather than listen to what our body wants, we start focusing on what the external environment is telling us to do. And that is when things start to change for us. So this is really about being aware. So the first thing is to be really aware of, what are you really hungry for? Am I actually hungry? Is my tummy, is it empty? Am I starting to kind of fade because I need energy? So really that's about needing glucose so that I've got energy to get through my day. Am I hungry for specific nutrients? Is my blood sugar low? That's actual food hunger. Am I thirsty? Because sometimes we can feel like we're hungry, but actually we're thirsty. A lot of us might be dehydrated, and then we go and eat something, have something to eat, but actually we still haven't had anything to drink, and we're dehydrated and we're going to keep being hungry. So it might actually, what we need to have is a glass of water, not a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. And you might find that if you're starting to get a bit peckish, if you have a glass of water, you're not peckish anymore, you don't need to eat. And you never needed a snack, you just needed a glass of water. So start to really be aware of, am I hungry? Am I really hungry for food? And you know that. Or am I actually thirsty? Maybe I'll try a glass of water first before I eat something. And then anything else is really about being an emotional eater. If you are not truly hungry, then you're an emotional eater. So we can eat because we're bored. We can eat because we want reassurance, because we want comfort, because we want to be told you're okay, because we want to be cheered up. It can be that we had an argument and we feel rejected. It can be because we're lonely. And food starts to replace a person. It becomes our friend, or it becomes our mum, or it becomes our lover, or it becomes something that we should really be giving ourselves. Now, we should be in a position where we soothe ourselves, where we make ourselves feel good. Nobody else, certainly not food, should be given that job. So it's really starting to be aware of what's actually going on here. Why do I feel the need? Most of us are actually scared of being hungry. You know, having an empty stomach is okay. And that goes right back, you know, from when, in the times when we were starving, we would be looking for food, or if there was a famine. Well, in New Zealand, we don't have a famine, okay? We won't starve by being hungry. You can wait. So it's okay to be hungry. It's okay. There's no need to be frightened of having an empty stomach and being hungry. Really, we should be having at least 3 or 4 gaps, or 3 or 4 hours between meals, because if we're constantly eating, we're grazing, we're eating every hour and a half, our gut doesn't actually have the chance to clear itself out. There's something in our body called the MMC, migrating motor complex, and it's a really important part of our gut health system, because it doesn't work like peristalsis. It's almost like a Mexican wave, and it works every hour and a half. It clears our gut through, and we need an empty stomach for this to work. And so sometimes if you're constantly eating, it means that doesn't work properly, and it can mean that you end up with the bacteria in your gut that you don't want, because they haven't been kind of moved around and cleared out, and they build up. So it's really important that you have at least an hour and a half, 2 hours between your meals, so that your gut can actually clear everything through and work properly. 3 hours is even better, because that really gives you a chance for your gut to work properly. So what you're going to do is, over the next couple of days, is start to have a look at how often you're eating, and then we'll talk about what specifically you're eating tomorrow. But today is really about looking at your patterns and looking at, why are you eating? Is it true hunger? Is it probably thirst? Or is it some other emotion that you are feeling, and that food is going to hopefully fill that gap for you? Or it might be the food is going to take away the pain, which I'm going to talk about this afternoon. Or for some people, it might be the food is punishment, and you're eating food to punish yourself, which again is something even bigger that we can't deal with on this challenge, but that's something that also needs to be addressed. So it's really important that you start looking at your triggers and your cues. So do this without any judgment. It's really important that you're aware, but you don't judge yourself for doing it. And I want to talk about the voice this afternoon as well, because that voice is all about the judgment. So really today is about looking at the reasons why you eat, and what are the triggers or the cues. Is it because of an argument? Is it because you've looked at the news? Is it because you drove home from work a certain way and you drove past the baker's, or you drove past the bottle shop? What is it that triggers that need to, yes, I want to eat that, or yes, I want to drink that? So we're going to talk a little bit more about that this afternoon, and then Wednesday is all about how we look at those triggers and change those triggers, so that if we can get rid of those triggers and cues, you won't then hopefully have that drive. So we're going to cover that more. So today is more just about stepping back and looking at what's going on. So some tips for you would be to say, like, create a craving diary, or observe your hunger and your fullness throughout the day. You know, are you eating when you're hungry, or are you actually not? When you've finished eating, do you feel really stuffed and feel sick, or do you feel okay? Are you still hungry? And just start to make a note of, is this hunger, or is this emotion? I'm going to give you an exercise today where I'm hoping that you can actually start to look at when you eat and what emotion is alongside it. Before you eat, stop, just breathe, take a few breaths, and say, am I really hungry? Which one of the hungers is it? Is it an empty stomach? Is it that I perhaps have low blood sugar and I'm feeling a bit shaky and I don't have any energy? Is it because I've slept all night and haven't eaten anything and I am truly hungry? Am I craving a specific nutrient? Am I craving energy? Am I truly hungry? Or am I actually thirsty? Or is this emotional hunger? So start to think about that. Always make sure you sit down to eat. don't eat standing up, don't eat running around, because sitting down to eat is also part of the being mindful. Spend a moment being grateful for the food in abundance. Now, in the old days, we used to say grace. And actually what that is a really good way of just calming yourself down, grounding yourself, and really focusing on the food in front of you, rather than just grabbing something and inhaling it. So it's not even about the spiritual or religious connotation that saying grace does. What this is doing is really just slowing us down so that we're much more present to the food we eat. So just sit and look at the food and think, oh, I'm lucky that I have this food on my plate. I'm really grateful that I've got this food. I'm really grateful I'm not starving, and I'm going to just appreciate it, because that's slowing us down. Don't multitask. Try really hard to not be distracted. So don't eat in front of the telly. Don't eat in front of your desk. That's really important. Get away, go outside and sit on the deck if you can. Do not eat in your car. Make sure that you are sitting down and you are 100% focused on the food that you're eating. And focus on how that food makes you feel. Focus on the tastes, on the texture. Is it warm? Is it cold? And how it feels when you swallow it. So it means that you're also enjoying it. And I think this is really important, because I think what you don't want to do is get to a point where you don't have chocolate, where you don't have cake, where you don't have that custard slice. Life's too short for that. So it's important that if you do have those treats, that you thoroughly enjoy them, that you really have them as an event. Sit down, give them your 100% intention and thoroughly enjoy it. And if you do that, you're going to not feel guilty afterwards. So it's not like you should be having treats, but the reason behind them shouldn't be to fill a hole and make you feel better or take away the pain. It should be just pure enjoyment. And if you're going to enjoy it, then really enjoy it and give it the attention that this cake or this biscuit deserves. And the same thing for an apple or a banana. Really enjoy it. Put utensils, use utensils, don't use your fingers, because if we use a knife and fork, we're much more likely to eat more slowly rather than shove it in. Obviously, if you have a sandwich, it's a bit difficult, but what I might do is cut the sandwich into pieces and then eat each piece a bit more slowly. When you slow down your eating, when you chew your food, you actually give your stomach the chance to tell your brain, hey, I'm full, I'm all good now. And then that will create a chain reaction in your body where hormones are created to say, yeah, I'm full. So we have hormones that say, yes, I'm hungry, and we have hormones that say, yes, I'm full. But that takes time. Both of them are produced when we sleep. So sleep is really important for weight loss. If you don't sleep well, you struggle to lose weight, because the hunger hormone and the I'm full hormone aren't produced in the right amounts. But you really need to slow your eating down and chew your food properly so those hormones can kick in. So your stomach can then have time to distend and tell your brain, yep, I'm all good now, thank you. When we eat too quickly, we don't have that chance. And so what can then happen is we just keep eating and eating and eating, and then we feel sick afterwards because we were eating far too quickly. So that's actually really important. Really taste your food. Pay attention to the colours and the textures and the smells and the flavours of the food. Slow your eating down. And I'm going to give you an exercise where I want you to start practicing that as well. So what you're going to do is, if you got on the email, you would have got 2 buttons, a PDF and a meditation. I'm going to talk about the meditation this afternoon. But the PDF is in that button. I'm also going to put the PDF into the Facebook group. So the first thing is about the mindfulness eating exercise. And that's about you picking a piece of food and looking at its colour, its shape and its texture, putting it on your tongue and just thinking about that initial taste. Sometimes we eat a whole bar of chocolate because we're just trying to replicate that first mouthful. Sometimes that first mouthful is absolutely amazing, and the second mouthful isn't really as good. So we eat a third and we eat a fourth just because we're trying to get back to that first. So make that first mouthful just fantastic. Savour it. So it's about noticing the sounds in your mouth, noticing the texture, swallowing it and paying attention to how it travels down your throat, and then say thank you to the food. So it's just a way of slowing you down and getting you to start being mindful about your food. So choose something that you really love and thoroughly enjoy it. But it has to be one mouthful only, no more than that. The next thing is about tracking your eating habits throughout the day. So I'm going to give you a food and mood tracker. And what you're going to do on this is you're going to write the time that you eat. You might finish the breakfast now, so you can carry this on into tomorrow. You can do this all week if you want to. So just write the time you ate, where you are, what did you eat, the food and drink you ate, and the reason. And I want you to really think about the reason. Are you eating because you're bored, because it's habit? Are you eating because you're truly hungry? Do you think possibly you've got your low blood sugar, you get shaky, you just got no energy? Are you thirsty? Are you grumpy? Are you sad? Are you anxious? Whatever the mood is that's making you eat, I want you to write that in. And then I want you to tell me about the mood afterwards, because sometimes you might eat because you're anxious about something, or because you've had an argument and you're feeling frustrated and you're feeling rejected because you had an argument, or maybe you're eating because you're a bit lonely. Sometimes afterwards our mood will change and then we start to feel guilty, or we start to feel ashamed, or we really start to feel like a dislike for ourselves. So I want you to think about what's your mood after. How do you feel once you've eaten that? And the other thing I want you to do, which is really important, is to time yourself. I want to know how long it took you to have your morning tea, how long it took you to have your lunch, your afternoon tea, your dinner, and even your breakfast tomorrow. Time yourself, because sometimes the secret to weight loss, and sometimes the secret to not eating, overeating or emotional eating, is to actually really slow your eating down. And instead of taking 5 to 10 minutes, maybe you actually need to take half an hour. And I know that might be scary in a busy day, but sometimes that's all it takes to actually change your relationship with food, or change the overeating and the weight gain that comes from the overeating. So I want you to do that, and that's really important. And for anything we do this week, it's completely up to you as to what you do and how you do it when you do it. But if we do something, or if I suggest something and you go, oh, I really want to do that, sometimes our resistance to doing something is a sign that this is something we need to do. It's a bit like walking into a cave. You might be a bit nervous about going into a cave because it's quite bit dark, but actually there's a big box of treasure at the back of the cave if you go into it. There's a Joseph Campbell quote about those that you know, enter the cave you fear to tread, because that's where the gems lie and the treasure lies. So if you feel there's anything that you're really resistant about and you don't want to go there, that's probably the place you really need to go. Just remember that. And at the end of the day, I really want you to post that you've done it and what you've learned, what you've found out about yourself, because then you can kind of work out what it is you need to do next. What's your next step? So hopefully you got a few tips there. At 4 o'clock, I will come on live and I'm going to talk specifically about emotional eating. So in the PDF, there's some other exercises there about emotional eating. I don't want you to do those yet, because I just want you to focus on mindfulness for today. And then I will talk to you about emotional eating at 4 o'clock. And then you can do those activities later on throughout the week. So there's no rush to get those done. So really today, I just want you to start to be aware of your eating habits, start to be more mindful, do the mindfulness exercise, and start doing that kind of moving food tracker. And post how you've got on, post that you've done it. If you've got any questions or anything came up, please put that into the group too. And I will see you at 4 o'clock, okay? Have a fantastic Monday. See you later, guys.